This event is brought to you by World Pro Racing, the Malta Motorsport Federation, Game Breaker Malta, GMR Entertainment, WJ England and Son, Melita, Media Looks, Restream.io, Gaming Malta, VisitMalta.com, and TVM Sport.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. 500 kilometers. That's what we're looking at the moment for the journey that reaches our destination. 500 kilometers, which has seen over 50 competitors go out there and battle and try and prove that they are the best. The fastest, what they have is what is going to take them to the very top. Now, every driver who has got it this far has got themselves inside the top 2 through these races, now conglomerate to make the final 10, to make the final race, to make the race that happens right now, this very second. You are watching on World Pro Racing YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. You are watching on esports television, on TVM Sport and Motorsport TV. You are watching your official Maltese Casual Races Grand Finale. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the party, some would say. My name is Jake Sperry. Joined alongside me here today is Nicholas Hillebrand, as per usual. And well, Nicholas, we've been talking about just how amazing these races have been. 5 clean races, 5 very similar races in terms of the top 5 managing to break away, but one more opportunity here today to prove that they are the very, very best.
Yes, it's going to be quite a spectacle, I think. We have the 10 best drivers that we had in these races so far, and now all of them go up against each other. I think it's going to be quite something to look forward to, and I'm quite excited to see who comes out on top.
Absolutely, as am I, and we're going to be going over to practice in about 6 minutes' time, ladies and gentlemen, from where we are at this moment. And I think everybody's going to be nervous and hoping that they have what it takes to be up there at the very top and prove that when the situation, all the nerves, all the anticipation comes together, that this is the time, this is the moment that everyone is going to be thinking that we are going to be there. This is my opportunity to pick up a victory. And we've seen so much go on over the course of the racing action over the 5 weeks, Nicholas. And now we start to look over at this grand final. It's the same track, same track length, same distance, same everything that they've had. They've just got to string it together again. But it's those 5 weeks, it's that building, that anticipation that comes into play. Who's in the best possible place right now?
It's going to be interesting to see who actually has the confidence so far. Of course, Kyokodo, who has established himself as the fastest guy from the get-go, he has the, easiest part because he was the first one to actually get qualified for this. And at the same time, you could also say, the winners, well, the first and second place finishers of round 5, they could have the best cars because they were able to show their pace the latest. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how people will actually deal with the pressure between themselves here, because I think there's going to be quite a lot more pressure this week in comparison to the casual races that we had before, due to, obviously the competition now being quite a bit more difficult.
Absolutely, and we've got a whole lot going on in terms of thoughts for winner. You can't look past Kyokudo at the moment in terms of what he's going to be capable of doing, what he's achieved. He's put the fastest time in on the board for the 5 weeks with a 2-minute 15, so to speak. So he's someone who certainly could be up there at the top. But in terms of other names, there are definitely a whole host who can definitely say that they can get up there. And of course, anyone who's picked up a victory in a series like this, going through a heat format into a final right now, they hold a pretty big key in their pocket, and that is they have a victory already. They know what it takes to win. And now you start looking, Nicholas, at, okay, if they're not in a position where they are to win, or qualifying doesn't go their way, or something of that ilk, maybe we're going to be in for a scrappy race, which we haven't seen from any of the races so far over the course of 5 weeks.
I think the winners will definitely have the biggest confidence going into this round, but at the same time, I think it would be deadly not to expect some of the second place finishers, simply because they have shown quite consistent performance as well. And either way, Kyokudo, he has done the fastest laps that we have seen in these 5 weeks. But at the same time, we've had so many other fast guys in the Audis, but also in other cars, for example, in the Porsche. And I think it'll be quite tricky to tell if the Audi domination will be able to continue, or if maybe Kyokudo will meet his match by one of the other cars.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is all part of a bigger picture, because not this year, but the next year is going to be where the big focus lies. The winner of this event is going to get themselves a grand prize, but on top of that grand prize, they cement themselves as the favourite for the Maltese National Championship. And that National Championship, of course, gives them the opportunity to be Malta's representative into the FIA Motorsport Games. That's going to be something really worth keeping an eye out on the more that things continue. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can like, share, and subscribe World Pro Racing on whatever social media platform that you feel is best. Of course, you got the Twitter handles right down there at the moment. You can have a nice little eye out on. That's for us at the moment. But of course, you can catch World Pro Racing, of course, likes of TVM Sport, ESTV, Motorsport.tv, all of whom would absolutely love your support. So if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe to both World Pro Racing and, of course, our affiliated companies that we are working with for today. But more importantly than that, we're just a minute away from going to qualifying. And I should also mention that if you want to get yourself involved in a World Pro Racing event in the future, you can head yourself over to worldproracing.com. You can sign up with your own account and then go over to events. And once you get to events, you have the opportunity, just like anybody else, to learn, to grow, to craft as a sim racer in a community that is absolutely thriving and has done over the last 18 months, plusward upward of 2 years, and continuing to grow time and time again. But Nicholas, we're now looking towards practice. Just a moment's time. There's 15 minutes of practice, 15 minutes of qualifying, and then 15 laps overall in terms of the racing distance. This practice is probably the first time that any of these drivers have actually all raced together, and this is where you start saying, this is where the form book is. This is who has effectively the golden ticket in their hand at the moment.
Yeah, of course, the person who qualifies themselves first starts first, and the practice for that is already quite an opportunity to put some pressure on everyone else. Because in practice, you can already show, I'm here and I'm ready to battle. And as we all know, the rolling start is quite tricky in this simulator, because there is a little bit of a gap in between the people starting, and this gap you can already use quite massively from the get-go. We see here now Mikhail right coming through Curve Paul Frère, only 7 tenths behind Kyokodo and only 3 tenths behind him Windy Boy. And yeah, that's already what I mentioned. You know, the Audis are at the front right now, but right behind that already is the VW.
Absolutely, and that Volkswagen is going to be really, really key as drivers look to get themselves going today. We also haven't mentioned the fact that we do have a giveaway, ladies and gentlemen. It's for Assetto Corsa Competizione on PlayStation 4. If you are a resident of Europe, you can head yourself over to worldproracing.com and look for the special giveaway that is going on with Assetto Corsa Competizione. But eyes on this practice. Kyokodo at the top of the times as things stand, but a lot of drivers will be looking at strategy here today to make sure that they have the pace necessary to go out there to attack and make sure it is all going to work for them. What's been crucial about strategy is there has been one that has been head and shoulders above the rest so far this season when we've looked at things, Nicholas, and that has been, of course, the option of going to soft tyres to soft tyres to soft tyres over 2 stops to get themselves going. Of course, tyre wear is accelerated to 9 times what would normally be a wear rate on Gran Turismo Sport, but at the moment it seems like the soft tyre compound, being of course the quickest but the easiest to wear, has been the one which most drivers, if not all of them, who have made it through have gone on and used.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because we saw before that if you make even a little bit of a mistake through something like Jackie X Corner, which the Audi is known to be a bit unstable out of, you can lose so much time, and even more critical, yeah, you can wear the tires more than anticipated, and of course with the 9 times wear, this really strikes hard in this situation.
Absolutely, we're taking a look at 5th place, Relax Racing here in the absolutely beautiful Vision Gran Turismo Mazda GT3 concept. These are Group 3 vehicles, so to speak, not necessarily GT3, but GT3 styled, so they all run to a very similar specification, and this is one of the things that can come beautifully from that as we take a little look over at Halle at the moment in the Audi R8 for the Velocity team. And this is another crucial fact to keep in mind. Team tactics here. Velocity of 2 in this group, trying to get themselves that grand prize, that victory overall, and they will be hoping that it will all work out for them. Excel is another drive to keep in mind in the Porsche right now, so every single driver will be looking at, okay, can we pick up the best result possible? If you've got teammates, that makes life a little bit easier. You can work together and make your way through the field.
Yes, in case of doubt, they could go on alternating strategies. So even if one of them falls behind, they could go for a longer stint and help their teammates to the victory. Of course, this is what we discussed already with Velocity having 2 cars and them just cleaning out full house in their week. And I think it's going to be quite something to look out for if they use these tactics, because it could be a crucial deciding factor if someone's going to make a resistance against Kyokodo, who is in P1 right now.
Exactly, and I think everybody's going to be looking at how they get away around the fastest driver in this field on the timing sheet. They say that the stopwatch never lies, and in this case that seems to be ideal, but we have seen from the Audis, although they are strong in number here today, the one issue that the Audi has had when it has got low on its tread on the rears is that the back really does love to step out, and it takes some very, very astute driving to bring this sort of car back into check once the rears start falling away. So that's going to be something to look out for all of the Audis here today. This is going to be a really tall order for a lot of people to try and keep the vehicle in check. But as we know, Nicholas, there are no guarantees when it comes to racing, and ultimately any event has an air of unpredictability about it, and most people will look at things and go, okay, well, how do you go and win this race? Well, the crucial fact is you've got to A, get a good start, but it's about consistency here in this series with the rolling start.
And I think the rolling start is at the moment the most deciding factor, because you can mess it up quite easily. And of course, if you're behind second place in qualifying, you will also still be exiting the bus stop chicane, which will make your acceleration quite a bit more difficult, because you have to get the traction down while still turning. This is going to be quite a crucial factor, I think, and at the moment, Mikhail is in perfect position to, still be able to attack Kyokudo, but at the same time, he has to make Las Dos absolutely perfect to get within slipstream range, down the entire straight to Eau Rouge, up Radion, and up the Camel Straight, and it is a quite tricky section of corners, of course. And yeah, the downforce will also be missing there if he wants to get the slipstream, so quite a tall order right from the get-go.
Absolutely, we haven't really had an opportunity so far to talk about this Spa-Francorchamps circuit. It is in Belgium, of course. Malta does have a little issue in the fact that they don't have a representative race course, say, in Gran Turismo Sport to go out and work with, but Spa-Francorchamps is as good a substitute as any, some would say. 7 kilometers worth of up and down and undulation and classic racing and sim racing overall. This place is all about a mixture of many things. It's one of the most versatile circuits in the world in terms of what sort of racing it can house. It's so versatile in the types of corner that are available around this place, and it's also incredibly brilliant in terms of how many amazing moments have come out of this circuit. And so many times we go to this place, we see just how much racing can change, racing can evolve, how much strategy comes into play, how many different variables come along with racing like this. But the big crucial fact is that Spa-Francorchamps is probably the greatest variable out of all of them, Nicholas.
It's a difficult track to get right, and even more difficult to, over 15 laps, not make any mistakes at. We always have quite complicated corners here. Of course, every motorsports fan already knows this track. Most of them here can already probably drive this track in their sleep, but to drive it without error for 15 laps, that is just in distance over 100 kilometers, for 15 laps straight with 9 times tire wear and with the competition we have here, to drive that without mistakes, I think it's quite a tall order to complete this without any mistakes, and yeah, to battle with others as well.
And it's that battle that we will be seeing in terms of the racing that we have available for you. We are heading to qualifying in about 7 minutes' time, ladies and gentlemen. You can see on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen a lot of different things being shown up. Of course, you've got the big S in orange. That is your tyre indicator for today. On the right of that, for drivers who are in the pits, there is the fuel numbers. That is how much fuel is in their vehicle or going in when they come into the stop, when they leave. So someone like Relax Racing, for example, in the pits has a full tank. 100% of the tank has fuel in it. You've also got the timing gaps that you'll see above and below between drivers, and the big red box that you will see on the right hand side is gap to leader overall, and that's something worth keeping in mind for today's racing out here today. But crucially, what we are also going to be seeing is maybe drivers trying something a little different in this final. We've talked about strategy in terms of we think that soft to soft to soft is okay, but you can go up to 6 laps on a tank of fuel. You use a lot of fuel around this place, very high speed through a majority of sections around this place, Nicholas. But what is very, very crucial about what is going to be the strategy call is that some drivers may decide to elongate their stint for 6 laps, go for an overcut maybe today, and look to try and make the tyres work. Alternatively, a driver may decide that they want to go 4 laps on one of their stints and try and go for an undercut and pick up a place by going out there and attacking on fresh tyres.
I think this will be one of the crucial things about the pit stop phase, because of course, if we have everyone in on lap 5, there's absolutely no alternation. But that is a big but, because we have seen a lot of people attempt this before. But yeah, sometimes it's a bit better to find your own rhythm. For example, as we saw in one of the races, if you have damage to your tires already through a mistake, through Jackie X, for example, in the Audi's case, it's maybe the better choice to pit earlier to get that 4-lap stint at the start out of the way, do a 6-lap stint, maybe lose a bit of time, but definitely not lose as much time as just stick to the 5-lap stints that everyone else is doing.
And it's all about who thinks they have the best strategy, the best pace. Everything will be calculated as they go on through. This is another driver to keep in mind in the Velocity team. This is Mikhail at the moment, making his way over towards the very short run here to the start-finish line at Spa-Francorchamps. It's a very small front stretch, definitely not the longest straight out on circuit, but it leads into this very, very famous last source corner, that hairpin, which effectively used to couple out the old road onto the new road, so to speak, and then back up the hill for one of the most famous rises in all of racing, Eau Rouge into Radion. And this is a very fearsome corner. It's one of those few corners in racing that you see, Nicholas, that splits the men up between the boys, and those who can run it flat, those who can run it with confidence, really do gain a lot of time at that section. That is pretty much an awe-inspiring corner in all assets of what it is.
I would say even if you can run it flat, a clean line through this is absolutely mandatory if you want to do the maximum amount of optimization on your lap. Because if you do it a bit too haggard, like we saw people struggling for the front grip, the front end jumping a little bit, as we see Windy Boy now take it up there, you see that is a little bit of weaving there that sometimes can kill quite a lot of momentum. And really, with that inside curb on the right, you have to be so careful with that, because it can upset the car in a way that you never could imagine before. And yeah, that could cost you your race if it runs really, really badly.
It absolutely can, and that's going to be something worth keeping in mind. We haven't seen many Volkswagens do very well, but Windy has seemingly got what he wants out of it at this moment in time, down the hill through Bruxelles and into Jackie X corner, the former corner without a name. This 90-degree left-hander is so inviting, but definitely has a bite of its own, and is one of the most underrated corners in all of racing, in my opinion. But there's one more thing to keep in mind, and that is the qualifying strategy here today. We've seen a couple of drivers over the course of the 5 weeks go for 2 laps in a row, going out there, getting tyres and fuel, and then going out and putting 2 more laps in to finish the session. Other drivers have decided to go 1 lap in and 1 out lap, 1 fast lap, 1 in lap. And that can be absolutely sensational to see, and effectively they get 1 less lap, but they get an extra set of clean tyres to use, fresh tyres to use, which can really help elevate their times.
I think sometimes it is a bit easier to stay out, of course, because you are now in the rhythm, you can just keep on going with the lap, and it is definitely possible to do more than 1 flying lap and, still have it faster. But yeah, a lot of people try to go for this double lap strategy, but it doesn't quite work out all the time. So it's going to be interesting to see if people can get the lap perfectly together or not.
Absolutely. We'll be heading over to qualifying in just about a minute time. There is so much that can happen over the course of qualifying. You can put yourself in the wrong position, you can make small mistakes, and just like that, it can be so very, very easy for things to all go awry over the course of racing action. But Nicholas, when it comes to qualifying, the driver who has been on pole position in this series so far has won every single event. 5 out of 5. There has been no ifs, no buts, and no ands. Nobody has been able to catch the pole sitter when it has come to these races. And looking at the times, a 2:15 flat, the quickest when it came to practice from Kyokudo, are we about to see similar, if not quicker times, when 1 lap pace is brought into play?
I think it will be quite interesting to see if people can get up to that standard, because Kyokudo has had the fastest laps that we've seen so far in the casual races. He's letting everyone through now, just, trying to get himself some free space. And in contrast, we have Windy here, who's just going up the Camel Straight completely by himself, to just get ahead of everyone else, get clear, and just have his own little rhythm there. And I think it's very important in qualifying to find your own gap. Sometimes you can try to use slipstream, but the entire middle sector of this track is dependent on getting the corners perfectly. And of course, you need every bit of downforce that your car can give you for that.
Absolutely, and that downforce becomes very crucial in the middle sector of the lap. There are 3 sectors that are around this circuit, or divided up as many people look. You've got the start-finish straight and the start-finish line, which goes all the way up towards the Kemmel Straight, and right towards the end of that is the first sector that you see on the mini-map on the right-hand side, top right of your screen. Then from the run up from the Kemmel Straight, it goes all the way down to this corner here of campus that Windy goes through, and there you can see the automotive campus there on inside for technology and improvements there, and that is the second sector. And then you've got this ferocious run through the final sector, back through the forest and over towards one of the scariest corners in the world, one of the fantastic sweeping corners, very similar to 130R. It is the famous Blanchimont corner.
And it may look simple, especially with that runoff on the outside, but you still take this corner at 230, 240, 250 kilometers an hour, or even faster if you're in the slipstream. And there have been quite some horrendous crashes, because you can get every little thing wrong there when you're turning in. If you hit the inside curb, the corner is going to be over for you as well. And of course, if you try to overtake there, it will be quite a matter of courage and of course competence from both drivers involved for that. As we're now on board with Windy, he makes his way up. Radion there, again a bit aggressive with that curb, but it works out for him. Now already at 250 kilometers an hour as he comes around the kink, up Kemmel Straight.
It's absolutely fantastic right now. Here's the first sector time, 39.3 on the board at the moment, looking over towards the left, right, and then the left again that comes along on Malmedy. Oh, hello everyone, I'm here. But now you can see down the hill, we're going to go here in towards the Bruxelles corner, down to just 100 kilometers an hour, even less, 95, trying to find the grip for putting the power down. Again, one small little flick down into third gear and putting the power back on once again. Now looking for more and more, hitting towards this double apex left-hander of Pouon corner. Now you can see here 174 kilometers an hour, putting the power on early here, taking a little bit of grass on that inside. You've got to be cautious about that. But you now can see the track map that he will have on screen here through the right and the left of Fania, of course, colloquially known as Piff Puff. And then the final sector coming up here is going to be so very vital. You can see just on the left by the main timer here, as 140.5 is the middle sector time added up overall. You can see already here, Nicholas, how the tyres, especially the fronts, are starting to get a lot of wear here in the Volkswagen.
Yes, quite a lot. He's pushing over those front tires a lot, of course. If you can keep that level of pushing up, of course, over a couple laps, it will work out, but especially with the 9 times tire wear in the race, it won't work out, as he goes in late braking now for bus stop, very far on the right-hand side over the curb, and on the left-hand side as well, getting the car rotated as quickly as possible, and now straight on the throttle. Third gear, fourth gear, and that is a 2:16.4. Quite a fast time, one of the fastest that we've seen so far, but I think a lot of the others will have something to say about that.
Yep, Excel on an 18.5, Zelinu an 18.4 at the moment. That puts third. Relax, currently yet to set a time as of yet, but we are starting to see them. Relax Racing 2:17.7 then goes to second position in the VGT Mazda. This is Zimbu right now. We've got on screen here, heading through Pouon, the double apex left-hander, and now trying to put some power down. These times will be coming in at the bottom left of your screen as we get the information. 10 drivers here today in this one, and of course, this is the driver to keep focus on. Car number 85. Yokodo Sentai trying to get as close as possible to the front. A 16.4, the time to beat at the moment. But as we know, we're already here, Nicholas, not even that, a third of the way through the race at the moment. This is an out lap, though. Flying lap will be coming next time by.
And I think that Zimbu might actually get in Kyokodo's way here. That's definitely not something that you want to see setting up your fast lap. And I'm wondering if he will now try to slow down a little bit, or if he will try to go for... there we go. Zimbu's moving out of the way, and Kyokodo now completely clean to attempt his qualifying run. Not as far on the inside over the curves as Windy did get, but then again, those are two different cars as well, two different complete wheelbases, you know, distance between the front and rear axle a lot different. And now braking into first corner, wide entry, trying to use a bit of that camber in La Source. Now heading down the straight, fourth gear, now up to fifth gear, just shifting up at 220 kilometers an hour, going to the left, completely over the curb, and right, barely touching it, but still a bit of a wiggle. And he's clear through Radillon, now heading through that kink, onto the Camel Straight, a bit less straight line speed, as we can see, than Windy had on his lap, but maybe that may work out in his favor in the end, in the middle sector. And he's still a 10th up, almost 2/10ths up on the fastest lap right now, goes through Lecombe, now coming through the last right hand of Lecombe, and now on his way down to Bruxelles.
Absolutely, I've just noticed something very interesting. You can see it on the brakes, a red light definitely lights up. That is the anti-lock brakes here for this machine. Of course, you get a couple of assists that come on in this series, and the anti-lock brakes, that will stop any sort of traction under heavy load of braking and stopping the locking up of the tyres. That allows the tyre to freely flow and stop maybe a little bit quicker going into corners, and this is where we're seeing Kyoto really start to pick it up right now. Windy on pole, relaxing second, Zelinu currently in third position, but right now you can see Haller has just put in a time of a 17.2, Joluka a 17.9 as well, so Haller up into second. Joluka, I believe, goes fourth fastest at the moment. Middle sector, half a second up. This is a great little lap coming in at the moment. Half a second puts 15.9 on the table, and we know that Kyoto has definitely a lot more left in the tank, like Mark Henry, so to speak. So now heading through this left-hand bend of Blanchimont, right up next to the curb, and now trying to attack here, heading towards the final chicane. You can really slow down here at this section and reset a lap going up, heavy over the curbs, going through this section in the Audi right now, coming to the line. 16.4 is the time to beat. It's a 15.6. Put that in the back pocket. 8/10 clear.
Quite a number there, and if he wanted to make it clear once again why he won the first week, he just made it quite clear, very obviously. Zimbu goes up to fourth place, right behind that, and only a 10th behind the third place Audi. And Relax Racing here, the first car actually with a front engine, even though it's a rotary car, so not quite a lot of difference there with the weight distribution of the car, but still up in fifth place, only 3/10ths behind Zimbu and 2/10ths in front of Joluka. I think, yeah, he's letting someone through there, and I think about to set up another lap there, or on his in-lap.
Very egregious way to let a vehicle through into the grass just before Blanchimont corner. That's always going to be very scary. This is Joluka, though, right now, trying to make the progress. 2.2 seconds currently off of pole position right now, as there is Ryan up to second on a 16.1, has kept quiet over the course of practice and qualifying, is half a second off of pole position at the moment. So Ryan with a lot to prove. Joluka at the moment, though, in 7th position now. As things stands, would love to get a time in. The final 5 minutes of the session now are going to come into full view, but this is the first time we're going to see a pit stop here on screen. Nope, we're going to switch over to Windy, just like that. So down into the pits, get some fuel, get some fresh tyres, get back out again. Windy, though, out on track at the moment in the Volkswagen in 3rd place right now. So Audi, Volkswagen, Audi, Mazda, your top 6 here, Nicholas.
And I think Windy Boy is going to be quite keen on showing that he still has some more, some more gas to burn, some more rubber to put into the track, and a bit more potential to show his little Beetle can really mess with the big boys in the Audis in the first starting row at the moment. You can see how clean he takes it here. The middle sector really is important that you take it just so perfectly clean. Every little slide can cost you a lot of time as he comes into pit buff here. And quite a lot of entry speed, actually. Keeps it on the right-hand side for a long time, so you can take the maximum momentum through the left-hander. Perfectly done here. And now into Stavolo. That's a bit of a slide there. That might cost a bit of time. As he now comes through Curve Pole Frere. This is where the very old Grand Prix circuit, the one that went through the country roads, actually would rejoin the current GP circuit. And now coming around the last left-hand king into Blanchimont.
And this is where Windy needs to really open up this lap. Currently 0.8 of a second off of pole position right now. You can tell that he is Windy because you can see right on the rear spoiler, WNDY, Windy, it supposedly says, but this is backing off, getting some fresh tyres, getting some fuel, and going back out there for one final run. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when that timer does expire, anybody who is out on a flying lap is allowed the opportunity to go and complete it. This pit stop is automated. They select their options before they come into the pits, or as they're coming into the pits, and they get themselves going. Excel, though, 17 flat there, improves time, goes up to 4th place. So there's a good improvement, and the Porsche now starting to find some good resolve. The only Porsche in this field, if memory serves correct.
Yes, most definitely the only one, and it's really these cars that aren't as prominent, because we saw an Audi, for example, in every race. We didn't see a VW, we didn't see a Mazda, we didn't see a Beetle in every race. The Audi really has been the car of choice here, and it's really, really fun just to see this Porsche here trying to go up against the big boys as he improves by half a tenth. Interesting, though, to see only up into 5th gear up the Camel Straight. He has a 6th gear, but elected not to use it. So now coming through the exit of Lecombe, coming down to Bruxelles, a really difficult corner here because it's a little bit off camber and downhill at the braking zone, of course. 99 kilometers an hour. That is quite fast through that corner. Jackie X now lets himself get carried on the outside curb to carry a lot of momentum through there. And now into 4th gear, and he stays in... No, he goes down to 3rd gear. But could take a little bit more momentum on the outside, not using all of the track available. Maybe that cost him a little bit of time. Now coming into Piff Puff, late on the brakes, and I think we're down to 2nd gear. Yes, we've seen that a lot before from the Porsches. The Porsche has quite a bit of different gearing, it seems, from most of the other cars. Now to Stavolo and the end of Sector 2 here. We'll see how he has been going. And that is 1.6 tenths down on himself, so no improvement so far. Maybe he can improve through Blanchimont and through the bus stop, but he has to hit his marks perfectly here now.
Absolutely, but the big issue has been the tyres over the course of this lap. You've been hearing over the dulcet tones of Nicholas Hillebrand how much screeching of tyres there have been in this Porsche. On the brakes, not long to go. We're under a minute left in the session, and that is it then for XL. No more left to give. The 2-lap strategy not working, and as such there is nothing left to go. This is Kyoto, though, half a second there or thereabouts at the top of the timing stand, but as we all know, every lap becomes so vital. Look at that push going through the Jackie X corner, now heading towards the double left-hander of Pujon, and now Kyoto is trying to use all of his road tax and a little bit more, trying to open, elongate everything, but Mikhail has just pipped him to pole by 0.06 of a second. What a time! Relax finds improvement in 8th place as well, but Mikhail has found the golden ticket. He has got himself pole position at the moment. Kyoto is not going to have everything his own way. Joluka currently finds a good time up to 4th place. So now with the timer expired, everybody will be trying to make this mad scramble over to the line. Who can find what it takes over the course of racing? So Kyokudo right now, heading through to Blanchimont, knows this is the last opportunity, has just pushed wide in a couple of places. Is there anything left to try and find improvement? Final chicane comes along, on the brakes, has got to be nice and neat, heavy over the anti-cut though, through the first side, and a slide on exit, trying to put the power down as early as possible, over the line, and it's a 15 flat, half a second, even more. Fantastic work right now as Ryan tries to find something more here in 3rd place here, Nicholas.
You just have to leave it to Kyokudo. Absolutely insane pace from all around, all the time. What an impressive lap! And despite a little slide coming into Piff Puff and the little wiggle at the exit of the chicane, I think if he hadn't made those 2 mistakes, you might have very well seen 2:14. And Ryan here now coming through Stavolo on his way to the exit of Sector 2. Goes into Curve Paul Frère, and I think he's going to want to improve a little bit more as well. You know, just to show that he's also here, he's also ready to mingle with the rest of these drivers. And at the same time, there's quite a few other guys still on track that also want to prove that.
Absolutely, as we've seen the likes of Zimbu go up in 7th, Windy up to 3rd, good time, puts 4/10 on Ryan at the moment, and Ryan, oh, huge slide, coming out to the final corner, gathers it back up, but does not find improvement of time. So Windy goes into 3rd position overall, and everybody who has finished the lap will be in holding formation at the moment, waiting for everybody else to finish. That is automated right now. Joe Luca's lap is all done as well, in 5th position right now at the moment. So you can see there just how beautiful we were looking at qualifying. Kyokudo on top, but really needed that great lap, Nicholas.
Absolutely insane, though, that he has the absolute mental capacity to stay immune to all this stress. On his lap, just in the middle, I was about to say he slipped up there, but to then just get it together through the last sector and transform this slide into Piff Puff, which can cost quite a lot of time because you need to carry the perfect amount of momentum through it. And to then transform that lap to go half a second quicker, absolute insanity, in my opinion.
Well, this is what brilliance we have seen over the course of 525 kilometers worth of racing, but we've got 105 more of them right now as we go and look over at the grid. Kyokudo on pole position, Mikhail in 2nd, Windy 3rd, and Ryan in 4th. Then got Joluka 5th, XL 6th, Zimba, Haller, and then, of course, the final 2 down at the back of the pack as well. Just a little bit too quick for me in order to get everybody in. But this rolling start that they will go on, this is fully automated by the Gran Turismo system. They will get control of their vehicles right when the race starts. So there is no difference to where they have started over the course of the opening 5 races. But let's get going. Grand final starts now, and Kyokudo, of course, with the advantage to start as they make their way towards the last horse hairpin to open up the first of 15 laps around this place here today. And on the brakes, no real dramas at the moment as we see everybody getting a good run, and already some fighting for 7th and 8th. Haller right behind Zimbu did really well off of the start to close down the gap.
Normally the gaps are around 1.5 seconds, and Haller really did a great job to get this close to Zimbu before even turn 1. So he's going to be looking to have a clean line here through Eau Rouge and Radillon. You can see here just how much the cars are struggling for grip. And we now go back to our leader, Kyokudo, trying to keep up the gap, but the gap is slowly sinking as well, of course. Slipstream, even with this distance, still there. And Zimbu completely defending on the inside here, even though Haller is not quite able to pull alongside yet. But the pressure is on board with Haller now, looking at the rear end of this Audi, looking up the diffuser, going down to Bruxelles now, and this is a tricky braking zone. He's going to try and aim for a later entry to the corner, but doesn't get the car quite turned in to go onto the throttle a bit earlier. So I think it's going to be a quite quite difficult battle for Haller here, with the same car, of course, same setup. All of this is fixed setup, of course, no individual ones, so everyone has to adapt to the cars that they chose.
They absolutely do, and Haller at the moment trying to find that pace early on in terms of the stint. But here's your race leader, Kyokudo, unchallenged off of the start so far. Gap up almost now to 2 seconds. There's Windy in third place. Everyone split pretty equally over the opening sections of road, but now look behind Ryan and look at the charge coming along from Gianluca, currently in 5th place. We look from behind at now how this slipstream comes into play. You get a punch of in through the air, almost like a hole that you find yourself in. You escape into a bubble, a little wiggle going through. Gianluca extends a little bit wide. Has got to be careful about pushing too wide, and now hitting the brakes very late and has gone far too deep. So Gianluca now is going to have to gather it back up on the apex here. That's going to put him under pressure from one driver, and immediately through that will be XL in the Porsche. We get a replay of this, just far too deep on the brakes, missing the marker by a good 25 meters.
It's always the difficulty in these battles. You have to have the perfect amount of pressure. If you put too much, you run into danger, of course, of over-pressurizing yourself, you know, just missing your braking point. And of course, as we saw here, going wide, and it's of course not what you want, because XL sitting right behind and not wasting a minute. Haller now right on the back of Zimbu. Again, Zimbu's covering the inside, but this time Haller is alongside already. I think he's going to try and make the most of the brakes of this Audi in the braking zone here. Can he pull alongside? He's alongside indeed, but he chooses to not stay around the outside, not try to put too much stress on his tires. But at the same time now, pulling out now, he's now within the reach of the RX concept of relaxed racing.
Exactly, this has been a case of cat and mouse in the early stages for these drivers. 7th, 8th and 9th in the field. 5th and 6th having a good scrap as well, as we look here at XL, looking back at Gianluca, who will be trying to find a way through in this scrap right now, through the double apex left of Pujon. Game Breaker on the back, of course, sponsored here today. We are by Game Breaker Malta, and they've done brilliantly. Every winner over the course of the first 5 rounds have got themselves a set of Game Breaker Malta headphones. So they have been absolutely fantastic prizes to see go over to these drivers, but more of a push comes along on the brakes into the right at Campus, and Stabilo follows after. So now you start to think XL trying to just break away, get a gap, but drivers will now be looking at, okay, heading to the end of lap 2, start of lap 3, they'll be looking at what is next in the offing, and you start looking lap 3, lap 4, lap 5, this is strategy time. You start thinking about the numbers going in and not necessarily going out aggressive for overtakes. Gianluca again, super aggressive here, trying to get a run out of Blanchimont, down on the brakes at the inside. Has he slowed it up better this time? He has with contact though, and XL has not much to argue against with that. Was already pretty much down the inside. XL had to leave some room.
I think XL tried to go for the over-under there, but yeah, it turned in a little bit too early, couldn't quite get the under in that. But at the same time, you see here, it's really quite difficult to judge these battles, because you try to hold back a little bit and, you know, to save your tires just a little bit more so you can keep pushing on them for these 5-lap stints. But you hold back just a tad too much, and immediately you're within attack range of the next person behind you, as we see Relax here now with the Mazda closing up slowly, really creeping closer and closer to Haller, who's completely on the inside, and I think he's going to pull back to the racing line now. But look at the distance that Relax has closed up there. Ooh. And now on the inside over the brakes, side by side, but Haller stays ahead.
That was brave as you try to find the way through, but Relax Racing now will have to stay calm, because the more they start fighting, they'll lose this scrap going on. 5th, 6th and now 7th, as Zimbu gets into the mix, as well as they will pilot their way down the hill of the Ardennes. And again, you can see there's Gianluca with a little wiggle there from the rear tyres. They're starting to go on the Audi, and that is the prime corner where they really do sort of fall away. It's almost like, say, compression at the Nürburgring. Big slide from XL, though, through the double apex left of Pujon, and suddenly you are sitting and duck. Tries to cover the inside, but Gianluca trying to go around the long way to get the move done. Has it in abundance.
Yeah, that was quite a big mistake from Excel there. I was about to say Jaluka killed his momentum coming out of Jackie X's corner, but then Excel followed up by killing it even more, and yeah, now going to pull out of each other a little bit more again, because Jaluka seemed to have quite a bit more pace to just go around. But, of course, Excel is still within attacking range, still very desperate to attack here, and let's see if he can turn it into a move, maybe. Brakes on the outside, and probably hoping, yes, there we are. Jaluka has to go a little bit deeper, and can he get more momentum down? Can he get a better launch? Starts pulling alongside, looking down for La Source.
Close.
Maybe a better line.
It's super close. Gonna have to try the outside. It's an on-camber corner. Jaluka struggles with the tyres, trying to get it together. More contact, and out to the outside goes Excel. Now, they've got to be careful. This is a very dangerous place to go too wide up Arouge and Radion. Here, Jaluka on the outside, turns inside as Excel decides, I've got what it needs. Bang! Bang! There goes Jaluka. The tyres give way, and that was a sign waiting to happen, a bad omen. And just like that, Jaluka, you can see, going up the hill, gets a snap of oversteer and goes head first into the wall.
Yeah, I was about to say, he is trying to pull out, trying to think better of it, but with that still, you know, impaired line, staying too far on the inside, getting too much rotation done up the hill, of course, the weight shifts about, and there was too much weight shift off of the rear end, and that just lost him the rear end completely. And I think he's going to be very upset with that. As we look at Zimbu, though.
Why wouldn't you be at this stage? You've seen so many drivers put in all that time. They've made their way into the final, and to make a mistake like that, which effectively puts you at the back of the field with not much left to say about it, well, there's not much you can do. We're on lap 4. Kyokudo in the lead still, 8th and 9th. Still having their scrap, though, down near the back of the field. Zelinu and Relaxed having this good little scrap at the moment, but line astern it is still. No chance of seeing a move happen just yet, but pick up a good exit here and you might have a little chance. And that Vision Gran Turismo Mazda, which has a fantastic yell from the engine, almost sounds like a Formula 1 car from the early 2010s, now making progress here for this run forward. We go on board, and right now you can see there's the tyres on the left-hand side of your screen that are starting to go a little bit, and the fuel tank just under half.
And Zelinu, he has the big advantage here of being the only front engine car.
Oh!
That is, yeah. I was about to say, usually the front engine cars have more wear on the front tire, so he'll have to fight with understeer more than oversteer, just as he clips the edge of that AstroTurf there. Very slippery, don't do that at home, because he saved that quite well still. As we have our leader back inside, now on lap 5, he should go into pits this time by. Kyokudo Sentai now down to 2:18s. The tire wear is really being noticeable right now.
Absolutely, the gap 2.3 seconds at the moment at the front of the field. Zelinu now with a huge gap to Relax. No takers onto the lane over the opening 4 laps. I think everybody knows and understands at this stage. We are 5 laps in. This is the pretty much par for the course strategy, the quickest way around this place. There's Windy in 3rd, only 3 seconds off of Mikhail at the moment, and Ryan a further 2.5 seconds back of that. They're evenly spaced, but crucially, everybody is in a range for strategy. If someone makes one small mistake here, Nicholas, that's it. They're back in pouncing range.
Yeah, that is of course the case, and some people, we have seen it before as well, that, you know, the refueling, you have to manually end the refueling, so everyone, of course, tries to put in the least amount that they actually need to keep the car light, to keep the refueling process as short as possible. And we have seen it before that people on their last lap actually had to slow down quite a bit because they just stopped refueling quite a bit too early, and had to fuel safe in the end.
Look behind, there's a 9/10 of a second penalty. That would have been up at 1 second for Relax Racing. First time we've had the ability to talk about the Gran Turismo Sport penalty system. You'll see the car ghosting in and out as there's a big slide there from Zelinu. Relax will now, at certain points on the circuit, have to slow down a little bit more, and that penalty will be served time on time again as in comes Kyokudo to make the stop from the race lead, followed by Mikhail, followed surely by Windy. Yes, Ryan should come into the pits as well. The top 4 all in, and these are automated pit stops, so now it becomes a battle of pit crews. They'll take the tyres, they'll put fuel into the car as well, and this is something very interesting. Look at the numbers on the left-hand side in terms of who's used the most fuel. Kyokudo has a feather foot.
And that is definitely something good to have, because of course you will need less fuel then, and of course less to refuel. So he's obviously not just gained time on track, but his sense of driving, his driving style has saved him, you know, maybe, I don't know how quick they actually refuel in this, but of course it gains him every single bit of time. And of course when you're being chased by, well, a horde of angry Audi drivers and a Beetle, of course, and everyone else on track, you want to get every bit of time that you can save.
Absolutely. Look at the train behind Excel. You got Zimbu there in 6th place, Haller in 7th, Relax in 8th, and Excel's under pressure here. Zimbu's got a great run coming out of Origin Rally on up the Kemmel straight. They come along, and well, there's nothing that the Porsche can do from the Audi, I'm sorry, but Leipzig loses in terms of this manufacturer battle because Audi have got themselves through, and that is Zimbu's Audi into 5th place then, moving on in this one at the moment. And what is very, very key in terms of manufacturer classes at the moment is that 9 of the 10 cars, when it comes to this race today at the moment, Nicholas, all find themselves from Germany.
Yeah, and the one that isn't is from Japan, a concept from Japan at least. And yeah, it seems that, you know, the mid-engine concepts from Germany have proven themselves quite good around this circuit. Even the Beetle with the very short wheelbase, but I think the nimbleness of mid-engine cars really just plays into their cards here and is just the superior way to go around here, as Windy has made it up to 2nd place.
Exactly, and I think that was through strategy for Windy, getting that one done in the stops. We didn't keep an eye on it, but Windy had put a nice amount of fuel in the car, and car number 4 at the moment doing well, but Mikhail will want to immediately come back, and this is crucial because Mikhail's lost a couple of seconds in that stop. So now you start wondering here, Mikhail may just decide to go on the offensive here for 2nd and 3rd, but they can't afford to battle too much more. If they start scrapping it out with everyone here, this is going to be a little bit of a nightmare that they will be starting to encroach on, because every battle that they have just loses them more time to the race leader, who's seemingly faultless at this point in time.
Yeah, and not only faultless, but also able to save a bit of fuel, so his pit stop might also turn out to be a bit shorter the next time by. But at the same time, if they solve it in a smart manner, they might be able to work together to gain a bit of time back and put a bit of pressure on Kyokudo if they time it well. But yeah, instead they're gonna do a bit of battling instead.
Trying to go to the outside. Mikhail fires the first shot. Slide from Windy there coming through at the second part of Lake Coombe through the right of Malmedy. Heavy over the curbs there when Mikhail trying to get any chance of offense then as they go down the hill into the Bruxelles corner. But again, not quite there is Mikhail at the moment, and patience now has to be the key. They very much closed down about a 1/10 of a second up the Kemmel straight, but then all of a sudden they've lost 2/10 straight back to Kyokudo. This is the ebb and flow of this track, and when you start making mistakes, this place takes time, not in tenths, but in massive chunks of tenths of tenths, so to speak. A lot can go away and go incredibly wrong over the course of this, and the fresh tyres that they have right now are only just going to start waning here.
Yeah, and of course when you have fresh tyres, the least you want to do, well, the last thing that you want to do with them, the least thing you need in your race, is that you're battling with them straight from the get-go after you come out of the pit lane. So I think Windy wants to definitely put a bit more of a gap between himself and Mikhail. At the same time, Mikhail wants to get past Windy the fastest because he thinks that he is obviously faster here, as he gains up down to a 10th right on the backside, and now trying to maybe on the late look for the inside. No, he goes into the break early. And yeah, it's just losing each other time, not just on normal time gap, but also, of course, it causes them to wear their tires more, which will cost them exponentially more time.
That Beetle is better on the brakes, and this is going to be something worth keeping in mind. A shallower line taken by Mikhail through the Lasso's hairpin turn number 1 out on track. There's that higher profile that the Beetle has that's interesting. Here's Excel, though, trying to get this one done on Zimbu for 5th place. He's going to have to go the long way around at the Lasso's hairpin. Always tough to get right, but it is on camera, as we've said. Little slide from Zimbu, trying to pick it up on the exit here is Excel, and well, let's go take 2. Now this time the Porsche trying to find a way through on the Audi, looking up the hill. Again, though, have to fall into the line. You do not want to risk too wide through here, but it's almost like train tracks the way they follow up, and now head themselves over towards the next section of road. This one is the run up the Camel straight towards Lake Coombe, and now Zimbu, hard defensive to the inside, making life as difficult as possible to make that move around the outside. It will have to be for Excel, who just leans in on the brakes, but again, did not have the overlap or the run to really make that move happen.
I'm actually thinking here, Excel, the last time he was battling with an Audi down this entire path, it didn't end well for the Audi up Eau Rouge and Radion. So maybe he's just trying to put a bit more pressure onto Zimbu, because he knows that the Audi is quite aggressive on tires. We saw Zimbu have a bit of a slide out of Lasso's, and that bit of a slide, it just accumulated itself to more and more tire wear on the rear end. So maybe Excel is just trying to put a bit more pressure on Zimbu, try to hold on here. We saw him follow very closely through Radion, so maybe he's pulling a long-term strategy. Same as Mikhail here.
Well, they know that the next pit stop window, the final scheduled pit stop window, comes in a couple of laps' time. We're on lap 8 going towards lap 9, but look at the run here that Mikhail has. Maximise the corner through here, out to in to out. That's the way you drive if you want pace, but Windy slightly wider there on the exit, able to cover the line, and on the brakes again, just gaining half a tenth here and there, and this is where that Volkswagen is doing absolutely everything. Little kick on the exit from Mikhail. That's a suggestion that the tyres are starting to go away.
Yes, and that is of course the tricky thing with the Audi. It seems to have the best outright pace, but the tires just do not want to hold up. The 5 laps are really, I think, the maximum that is really worth doing in these stints here. And Windy with his Beetle has shown great straight line speed instead. As long as he can stay ahead in the corners by staying ahead on the straights, I think Windy can defend this position. But now Mikhail, oh, that's a 1 second penalty. I thought that he was a bit risky on that exit through Radion. But yeah, he just can't keep up on the straights. That Beetle has quite a bit of power there.
And serving immediately.
Yeah.
Absolutely slows down, serves the penalty. Zimbu and Excel still in their scrap at the moment, 5th and 6th position. So Mikhail drops it all down as he looks to serve the penalty, but Zimbu right now still holding station here with Excel. They've been able to pull away from Haller and Relax in 7th and 8th position on the road. That's been crucial to their fight, but Zimbu right now just trying to make sure that he is just running the best race possible. 11 seconds behind Ryan at the moment in 4th position. That's not ideal for the race. It means that 5th place is most likely the best that anybody in the second half of the field is going to find. Both run slightly wide down the hill at Jackie X, but Zimbu, crucially, is trying to hold a gap. There is Haller in 7th, and he's got himself about 7/10 of a second over the Mazda behind.
And something must have happened to Zelino, because he was ahead of Relax, but not anymore. And instead, Relax can now start putting the pressure onto Haller. This is what I was talking about. Maybe... Oh, that's a big one.
It's a really big one. So that one is coming out through corner Paul Frere. So through the right, what happens here? Gets out on the AstroTurf and the rear steps out. The Audi rear tyres need to be managed here today, and it's the second Audi that's run into troubles, and I think that's the end of Mikhail's race, deciding that second place is not enough, and Mikhail has left the room. Mikhail is out of the race. So Kyokudo leads, Windy in second, Ryan in third, and now it becomes a straight shootout here for the top three. Everybody up in position, and my previous statement about 30 seconds ago now becomes untrue, because here's XL and Zimbu fighting for 4th place.
And of course, it's quite frustrating to end the race that way, but you saw how slow he was going, and you saw the impact. I can only say that's a lot of damage, and of course, that is going to impair your ability to race a bit. And once again, the Porsche proves itself quite formidable at the exit of La Source. Can Zimbu try to... you could see that little wiggle there. I was about to say. Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. You can certainly see that. All of that came from Zimbu running wide at La Source, and that gave XL the chance to attack on the exit of the corner, take away the racing line, and get the position. XL up to 4th, but we're on lap 10 of 15 here, ladies and gentlemen. 6 laps to go, and that means that we are right in the window for the second stop. But what's crucial is that someone's going for 6 stops. Oh, sorry, for 6 laps on the final stop, and that is Relax Racing in the Mazda, so that's going to be worth keeping an eye out on. XL sliding a little bit on the tyres down Bruxelles, and now this is where life really gets difficult, because the track really doesn't help. And something I would say is that modern tracks don't use enough elevation. This is a key component of why elevation is needed in a racetrack.
Most definitely. Off camber, on camber, uphill and downhill, it's all playing so nicely into the dynamics of these race cars. And yeah, a lot of tracks nowadays are simply too flat in my opinion, but that is of course a different style of building entirely. This is still one of these older tracks where they are actually built into the mountain, much like the Nordschleife as well. But yeah, we have Kyokudo now coming around the bus stop, heading into the pit lane for the last pit stop, 6.4 seconds ahead, no pressure from Windy behind, and 6 seconds behind him is Ryan, so no pressure there either, and he has 11 seconds, so I think these three will just try to finish their race as it is. I think all of them will be quite happy with a podium here, and that is just refueling left. And when does the Lollipop Man say go?
Eventually, in a couple of moments' time. Everybody diving in then. The top 5 have all come in. Out goes Kyokudo. Should be back into the race lead, and does so without any real dramas at all. Back out and away, and there is nobody left to challenge as drivers have come in, got their stops, and back out and away again. Windy does not gain much in the stop. He gains 0.2 of a second, but the gap 6.3 over the course of 5 laps. Well, we've seen how Kyokudo has slowly built that gap up. It's not been a case of winning by seconds or winning by a country mile as we've seen in the past. There's Relax right now, who is trying to gain in this stop with the undercut. Remember, he'll be on the older tyres as much as possible, but has got into 7th place, has jumped the likes of Joluka in the stop, and is now right on the back of Haller. Those fresh tyres have worked a treat for Relax.
I think he actually lost a little bit of time, or maybe he had hoped for a bit more there.
He has the run.
Yeah, definitely has the run there, but it's going to be difficult for him to get past, I think. Or, well, not really get past, but, you know, get past and stay in front. Because these older tyres will definitely play a bigger role in the last laps.
Absolutely. 4th and 5th, still nose to tail. XL there in the Porsche against Zimbu in the Audi. And, oh, my goodness, that was such a big snap for Zimbu there, going down Bruxelles, very nearly took the rear away of XL's Porsche, and that could have ended in total disaster for Zimbu in 5th place. We keep it all nice and clean though. They're still going out on track. Not much has really changed in terms of this race, but XL in 4th now gets 0.8 of a second to work with over the course of this, but crucially it's not an entire second to break away and run away with. There's still that draft that comes into play that's still going to be a factor, and that's why XL has to continue to put the power down. Those are cold tyres that are not working. Zimbu is fighting against the car.
And he's definitely... I would have actually expected for Zimbu to get along a lot better with the newer tyres, but of course it's also a difference in driving style that you actually have to adapt to. Not only when you have worn tyres, because it's actually a sort of linear process, you know, your tyres wear more and more, so you are used to the grip just naturally going away, but suddenly on one strike you just have so much more grip, and maybe he just, you know, after the first couple corners over-anticipated the grip that he had now, and yeah, went too aggressive into Bruxelles. As I mentioned before, quite difficult corner to get right because of that downhill off-camber braking zone into the hairpin.
Exactly. Here is Kyokudo Sentai at the front of the field. An outlap of 2:11. Of course, the pit lane exit juts out after turn number 1 around this place. 6.3 second lead over Windy in second in the Beetle right now through the right and the left. A 2:10 outlap for Windy there, slightly quicker. There is Ryan as well in third position too. He's having a great run of things right now. It's been a quiet race for Ryan, no battles to speak of, but has just quietly got away, chipped away, and a podium is a very good result for that come at the end of everything. So Ryan can be incredibly happy with things at the moment in third, but that's the big difference maker. 14 seconds to the race lead. Your battle for fourth and fifth, currently almost half a minute off the pace, and Zimbu running slightly wide through Malmedy corner, trying to pick up as much as possible and taking the slightly wider line. Here's Relax though. He's through on Haller, who's got penalty to serve.
A quite impressive drive from him, already catching up a bit more and more. And yeah, Haller just maybe a little bit too aggressive on his defense, picking up a penalty, and of course that's not what you need in those situations. But now 6.4 seconds up to Zimbu, who was also quite aggressive on his tires though, so, you know, maybe if Relaxed can keep it relaxed, then yeah, maybe he can turn it into a 5th place, because we have seen so much drama here before with the Audis. They seem to be fast, but very on edge, and yeah, to finish first you have to finish.
Well, here's the issue for Relaxed. On 1 lap older tyres, he is compared to Haller and pretty much everybody else in this field. On these laps right now, that disadvantage just gets exacerbated more and more and more the more that you are on a set of tyres. So a lot of work to do for the Mazda, but there is XL in 4th position, just still holding off Zimbu in that fight for the top 5 at this point in time, through the final chicane and on towards lap 13, sorry. 3 laps to go here in this event, and XL right now is looking to try and break away. There is Relaxed in 6th, having a big slide through the final corner, and that's why the tyres are falling away. That's why you don't want to be on an undercut.
Yeah, and this is now a 6-lap stint, so it'll be even more difficult for him later. Holler seemed to be a little bit more nervous the last laps, but maybe Relaxed has gotten a bit too relaxed there, and I think he's definitely not relaxed anymore now after this moment.
Ooh.
Very aggressive cutting on the inside there, but Holler maybe picking up another penalty, because that seemed a bit off track-ish to me.
Got away with it.
Got away with it. So the gods of luck playing into his side here, but at the same time Relaxed still putting on pressure, trying to make people impair their line. We've seen this quite a lot from him before, with these little grip tactics through the corners, especially through Lacoon. We've seen him before making these moves, and you can see it really working on Haller. He's again wide into Bruxelles and looking down the inside. He doesn't have to make the pass, but just keep up the pressure. But at the same time, if he puts on too much pressure, you see him sliding a bit wide there. This wiggle at the exit, you know, it can really not work out in his favor.
Absolutely, and this is the big nightmare you've got right now. You've got a car on very, very old tyres against a car on fresher tyres, but tyres which will very much wear on the rears and slide around. That's the big disadvantage that those two are having, as that 4th and 5th place battle still good, but 6th at the moment. Haller at the moment having a good run. Worth noting that the fastest lap has just updated over the course of this stint, because Kyokudo has that now on a 2:15.9 right now, and of course that fastest lap, you don't get anything bonus for that, but the fastest lap is always a massive, massive talking point, because we've seen over the course of many racing series they employ, say, an extra point for a fastest lap. That's fantastic, as Here is Relax now, trying to bring that gap back down again, trying to position nicely to get the move to regain that 6th place on the brakes a little bit earlier there, just able to now close up late in the braking phase, lifting off ever so slightly and now putting the power on exit. Neither can really escape from each other, but really that fastest lap, there is a point of pride to have it.
Yeah, you could see a different approach there from Relax at the exit of the bus stop there now, because he was taking it a bit more straight, even though he was still pointing to the outside wall. I think you really learned from that mistake there. Hopefully. I hope I didn't jinx it just now. But yeah, he's still keeping up the pressure on Horler, just again over the inside curve so much that he's even strafing the grass. Absolute aggression there, and now he's going to look for the outside again as Horler commandeers the inside line. But look at that overspeed he has this time. And this time he's going to make it pass.
That is fantastic from Relax. You do not find many better overtakes like that. So sleek, so smooth, and almost attuned to streamlining. Here is that Mazda down on the brakes, sorry, up on the brakes, into the left, the right, then the left, and just like that, it was easy as you like. Relax Racing up into 6th position. 7th now goes back Haller in the final 2 laps of this event, down to a lap and a half, and for your race leader, in about a lap and a little bit's time, it will be 1 lap to go here in this event, which it has been led from lights to flag at this point in time, and you can't really argue against it here, Nicholas.
Absolutely dominant performance from Kyokudo, of course, with a 2:59, running faster than most people here did in their qualifying time in the race. So that is quite an impressive drive from him. He really does master this Audi very well around this circuit. And yeah, I don't think you can say anything other than that about his race. No mistakes from him. We only saw him pitting in and just starting to fly away, spreading his wings from the get-go. So yeah, error-free performance from him, and quite impressive stuff.
Very impressive right now. There is Gianluca in 9th position, the final runner in this field, almost a minute off of your race lead at this point in time after the massive shunt that happened earlier on. There must still be damage right now. Relax, still ahead of Haller, starting their final lap of the event. The Ayrton Senna helmet there for Relax. But right now it has to be lap of the gods at this stage through turn number 1, but Haller runs wide. There is Kyokudo, your race leader here, heading down through Bruxelles corner for the final revolution of this 7-kilometer circuit to Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Mountain, just a ways from Francorchamps village in, of course, Belgium. And now for Kyokudo, he knows what he needs to do in the second half of the lap. Relax has the gap that's needed now, 9/10 of a second, and this is enough to feel comfortable, you would say, at this stage. That gap can close, but it is comfortable. Excel in 4th position has built the gap over Zimbu out to 2.1 seconds over the course of the final stint, and has done very much enough to say that 4th place could be under lock and key. But look at the gap for Kyokudo, 7.7 seconds. It hasn't been a runaway victory, but it has been little by little, and it has been little and often as well over the course of this race, and that has been the key. Every single lap has had Kyokudo in 1st position so far, has had pole position, and has got fastest lap under the bank as well. And with the 9 times tyre wear acceleration, there's no chance he's losing that. To the final chicane, Kyokudo will come, and watch out, 2021, because here will come Kyokudo to say, I am favourite for the Maltese National Championship. Kyokudo has got a Grand Slam in the final.
Absolutely fantastic race. Pole position, fastest lap, led every race. Well, every lap of the race. But yeah, how can you argue with that? Windy bringing it home with his Beetle in a great 2nd place. Had a lot to fight with as well. Ryan bringing it home in 3rd, and Excel in the Porsche in 4th place. And yeah, starting to see a bit of a pattern here in the positions, because we have Audi, VW, Audi, Beetle, Audi, and then we have this nice Mazda here. The off strategy, which actually worked for once, Relax Racing, very well done here, coming from far behind to gain a couple places with consistent driving. Zelino coming home in 8th place, and now Joluka, the man who had the fight for the podium and was fighting for quite a while, and sadly drew the short straw up Radio.
9th place, that's everybody then across the line. Kyokudo, your race winner. Worth noting there's a second penalty for Ryan that was ended up unserved in that one, but very, very crucial it was everyone having a good battle. Kyokudo, your winner with a Grand Slam, 3 stars, pole position, fastest lap, and a clean race as well. He will pick up the grand prize. And Nicholas, it went the way the form book expected it to. Kyokudo had the fastest pace in all of the heat, so to speak. He had the fastest pace in practice, the fastest time in qualifying, and he put together a perfect race event. Now heading towards 2021, is this the time where everyone now just sits up, takes notice, and goes, I need to find 7 seconds, 14 seconds, 15 seconds in my game to make sure for that national championship, I'm the one sitting on the top step of the podium with the representative seat going to 2021 in Malta?
Yeah, I think, of course, we haven't seen everyone yet, so there will definitely be other people still coming and, obviously wanting to show what they can do. But I think with Kyokudo and, of course, all the other guys racing in this race, we have seen someone who has been quite dominant, of course, quite consistent, and the outright pace is just astonishing. And I think that he's definitely a person to look out for next year. Another championship might happen this year. So, actually, the championship might happen this year. So, quite interesting to see, where other people might still come from, and what we still might see, what cars might get picked, and yeah.
There's a lot that can happen. There's a lot, of course, in the works. And for more great sim racing action, you can check out World Pro Racing. If you follow the socials on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Twitch, you are able to see some brilliant sim racing cross-platform when it comes to racing games, about some brilliant action that has been going on. But this is where we start to bring our proceedings to a close, ladies and gentlemen, and there's a whole heap of people that need to be thanked. Of course, to all the drivers, all the teams that have turned up and put on some brilliant racing action. And of course, none of this could be done without them. And of course, you've got the likes of where we are streaming here today, TVM Sport, we've got ESTV, we've got motorsport.tv, as well as those streaming platforms that we mentioned earlier for World Pro Racing on Twitch, on Facebook Live, and on YouTube as well. Of course, there has been live stewarding here today at this event. FIA accredited, Malta Motorsport Federation accredited stewards. Those are Adrian Fagayo and George Muscat. They've been working incredibly hard behind the scenes, as well as Justin and Nathan Mifsud, who have been on cameras for production here today. From Nicholas Hillebrand, who is right about there on my left-hand side, and myself, Jake Sperry, this is where things come to an end. But Kyokudo has put on a glorious showcase on why he is the best that Malta has to offer at the moment. A Grand Slam, a clean sweep. You can say it any way that you like, but it was sheer and utter perfection. And perfection is very, very easy to lose if you're not careful. Everyone will be trying that little bit harder next time they race. And who knows, next time could be for a seat at the FIA Motorsports Games. We'll see you very, very soon when it comes to World Pro Racing. This event is brought to you by World Pro Racing, the Malta Motorsport Federation, Game Breaker Malta, GMR Entertainment, WJ England & Son, Melita, Media Looks, Restream.io, Gaming Malta, VisitMalta.com, and TVM Sport.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.